A very good morning to all of you. This is me, Neve Goswami, welcoming you all in a live and interactive session which is based on virtual labs. This session you're watching at PM eVidya channel number 6 to 12 and on our official YouTube channels which are NCERT Official and NCERT PM eVidya class 6 to 12. Speaking about virtual lab, let me tell you what exactly these virtual labs are. So a virtual lab is an online platform that simulates a real world lab environment. Let students and researchers conduct experiments and perform procedures on a computer or any other device without needing physical equipment or a dedicated lab space. Some key features are practice without any risk, access expensive equipment and learn from anywhere. And today we are going to take up class 12th physics. You must have seen a glass prism, and glass prism is all about, it's a transparent optical element with a flat polished surfaces that reflect light. The class 12th prism experiment typically involves studying the refraction of light through a glass prism, and today we are going to demonstrate the experiment in the virtual lab, and that is the demonstration of simulation on angle of minimum deviation of a glass prism. And to proceed this experiment, to do this in front of you on virtual lab, I'm having in a studio as an expert Dr. Uma D. Sharma, who is an academic consultant at CIET NCERT New Delhi. Ma'am, a very warm welcome. Okay, so before we proceed this with Uma ma'am, here's a piece of information for all our viewers, and that is, if you have any question and a query regarding the session, you can directly ask us via calling us on a phone number which is flashing on your screen, and that is 8800440559. With that, if you have any feedback, any suggestion, you can directly mail us, you can write us on our mail ID, and our mail ID is also flashing on your screen, and that is diksha.training @ciet.nic.in. and as I mentioned, our YouTube channels at the beginning of the session. So if you have any question in your mind regarding the session, you can directly ask a question in the live chat box. The facility is available there on YouTube. So without any further delay, it's time to proceed the session, and the first question that I would like to put in front of Uma ma'am. Ma'am, what we are going to discuss today, let me know a brief about glass prism and what are the observation we're going to observe during this experiment.
Definitely. See, usually we will study over here simply about the refraction of light through a glass prism, and we will, which is the fundamental concept of how light bends through the glass prism. Plus, what will happen? What is the minimum angle of a deviation? What is the concept behind the angle of a minimum deviation? What is its importance? Why we study? Why we calculate? Why we calculate this minimum deviation over here? Okay, so you have seen this rainbow, right? So rainbow is a dispersion of white light. So whenever light travel from any prism, two surfaces are there and one base is there. So when light travel from one surface, two phase refraction takes place. And I in my previous session I already told you, whenever light travels from one medium to rarer medium to denser medium, it bends towards the normal. And here again what happens, because it is inclined at a certain angle, it again when it comes out of another surface, it again bends to the towards away from the normal. And you will, because of this minimum angle of deviation, we will see the dispersion of light, because white light constitutes of 7 colors, right. So each colors have a different wavelength, and because of this dispersion, because of this angle of and each wavelength of light, each color has different wavelength and each have a different minimum angle of deviation. So you will see a splitting of white light, which is called dispersion, right. So today we will learn about how to calculate minimum deviation. This is one of the experiment of class 12th, where the student learn about to measure this angle of a minimum deviation of various prism. There is a one hollow prism is also there, one glass prism is also there, and by calculating it, we can calculate the refractive index of that particular prism. So we will start it, and how to start it? First of all, you have to go diksha.gov.in, and here you will see this kind of portal is here, and again we will go this focus area of the Diksha. In it you will find this virtual lab. Once you go over here in virtual lab, you will see all the contents which is available from grade 6 to grade 12th, and this is a grade 12th experiment, English medium. Go to physics. See, this is a one time login it will ask. So, I have already logged in with Google. So, sign in with Google, and it is NCERT official. Through NCERT official, I just logged in to this Diksha portal. Okay. So, this you will page you will get once you get inside this virtual lab page, and here you will find that this is the experiment 4th, I think optics experiment is there. So, this one we have this angle 13th experiment is there, angle of minimum deviation of glass prism. So, experiment 13, here you will find the PDF, which is according to the CBSE, NCERT, and lab manual is there to determine the angle of minimum deviation for a given glass prism, and by plotting a graph between the angle of incidence and the angle of deviation. So, this is the aim of our experiment, and apparatus required is simple glass prism which is required over here. And see, minimum at what is the condition for getting the minimum deviation? The condition for getting minimum deviation is when the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of emergence here. So, whenever the light is incident on this surface and it is coming out from this surface, so you will get this angle is called angle of incidence and this angle is called angle of emergence. And one condition is there when I is equals to E, and that is the condition where we get the minimum deviation, and at the minimum deviation you will get a very clear picture of the spectrum. That is when very clearly you will observe all the 7 colors of the white light. So, this is the key feature over here. So, this is the procedure over written here. So, observation table is here. So, for this we have to calculate the least count of the protector, because here we are measuring the angle using a protector, and the normal protector having a least count of 1 degree, because 1 degree we accurately measure from any protector. Angle of prism is a very important thing, because using this angle of prism we will calculate this refractive index of that particular medium, right. So, here, so for this first of all we need to calculate angle of minimum deviation for a glass prism. So, what we are doing exactly, we are calculating minimum deviation, and then using the value of a minimum deviation we can calculate the refractive index. So, this is a observation table is there. So, once we put the values over here, you will get this kind of graph, and from here we will calculate this minimum deviation. Here you will see this, the dip is there, and at this dip this is the angle of minimum deviation, right. So, we will proceed with the experiment directly. Okay. So, as I open this, I will come to this page where the same objective is there, to study the angle of deviation and angle of incidence to the and to find the angle of minimum deviation, and to find the refractive index of a material of a prism using angle A, that is the angle of prism. So, normally we are using equilateral prism which is having angle A is equals to 60 degree, where angle of prism is 60 degree. Okay. So, A is taken as 60 degree, and using this law of refraction n equal to sin I upon sin r, we will derive one equation, okay, for this refractive index, which comes out to be sin A plus d upon 2 upon sin A upon 2. So, we can easily derive this expression from the geometry, and it comes out to be this expression, and using this expression we can calculate the refractive index. So, now we will move ahead to the simulator part. This is a simulation. Okay. So, here you can see different prisms. We can select the prism also based on the refractive index. Start experiment. So, first you have to click on the start experiment, right. Start experiment, there are plenty of prism, prism 1, prism 2, prism 3. That means all different kind of prism have a different refractive index. Some can be made up of a plastic, some made up of a any transparent medium, this glass. There are hollow prism are also there, where we can put some oil inside that hollow prism, and we can calculate the refractive index for that oil but also. Okay. So, I am using this prism 1, okay, and this is the angle of incidence, and I can vary this angle of incidence, and accordingly you can see this, the angle of deviation is calculated. So, one by one we do this experiment. See, I just increase it little bit, and at particular angle, that this is D, like angle of incidence is taken as 36 degree. That means this I is 36 degree. This is a refraction angle at the first plane. R1 is the angle of refraction. Then it comes over here, incident on the another surface, and this R2 is the angle of refraction for the second one, and this is the angle of emergence E. Now, easily we can see from the figure that I is not equal to E. So, this is not a minimum deviation, we have to calculate it. So, I will simply use protector. See, I will use protector. Is it? It is not coming over here. Let us show protector. Again we can refresh it, start experiment 30, let it 33. Okay, for 43 degree show protector now. Okay. So, maybe some, because network connection is slow, so you can refresh it and you will find this. So, minutely you can simply arrange it. One plus sign is over here, and with that plus sign you gently place it over that part where the angle of minimum deviation is, and you just simply adjust this horizontal line, this green line with this line. Okay. So, once this lines coincide, you can easily calculate this angle. I am just marking over here, you can see it, this angle. So, it comes out to be, if you see it from here, so this is 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, this is 60, and it is coming like something 62. Okay. So, I will write this reading over here, that means serial number 1, then angle of incidence comes out to be 43 degree, I will write it here 43 degree, then for an angle of deviation, because we are calculating I and angle of deviation, because we have to plot the graph between I and D and calculate the minimum deviation. And here you will see it comes out to be, I think 62. This is our first reading. Then again for the second reading, again we will just increase little bit this angle of incidence to 50 degree. We can take 6 or 7 values to get the graph. So, 2, 3 I will take, and next we can put it over here. Here, see, I have arranged it properly again. I have arranged it. Now, you can see this. Again, we can calculate this value of D. Now, it comes out to be how much? 50. This is 50 part, because we are calculating from here. So, I have to measure, I have to take this 50, not 130. Sometimes students take the do this mistake, they will just simply write ma'am it is 125. So, it is not 125, it is, we are calculating from this line. Okay. The angle of deviation is from here to here. So, from here we are calculating. So, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and it comes out to be again 55. So, I will write it here. For which angle of incidence? 50. For angle of incidence 50, angle of deviation comes out to be 55. One more reading I will take 3. I will increase again this angle of incidence. So, you will see that angle of deviation is decreasing. As I am increasing the angle of incidence, what is happening? Angle of deviation is decreasing. See, again I have increased 52, you will see that it comes out to be 50. For 52, angle of incidence it is nearly about 51. So, you are seeing this, the angle of, see, as angle of incidence is increasing, angle of deviation is decreasing. Next, one more reading I will take, little bit, this 54 something, for you will see this 54 something, and here it is again coming 50, 51 something, 54. It is 50, and once again I will take the reading, you will see suppose 56, now it increases 52. Okay. So, I will just from here you will just plot the graph. So, it comes out to be little bit like this, maybe this reading second 55 reading is little bit wrong over here. We can again do that reading, because it makes a simple U kind of a structure. So, when we draw a free hand drawing, So, normally when in the labs what we are doing a freehand plotting between these points. So, these points are also okay, but we have to draw like simply like this, and this point, this 50 is the minimum deviation for this prism. Here we will find this dip, and this point is the minimum deviation for that particular prism. Now, using this value, okay, once this value is found out, you can see we can hide protector also from here and show result also here. So, angle of deviation is this 53.40, because for this particular, if someone is uncomfortable for using this protector, they are unable to find this what is its reading. So, they can obviously go from here, this result part, they can tick on it result, and here the angle of deviation is automatically calculated for that particular angle of incidence. So, it is 53.40, right. Now, once it is calculated, the refractive index of prism, the answer is also given here 1.67, the refractive index of the prism, which we can normally manually calculate using this minimum angle of deviation value, like this is a 50 degree is the angle of a minimum deviation. Using this value in this, I will come back to the this theory part. In this equation, refractive index mu is equals to sin A plus D upon 2 upon sin A upon 2. Using the value of A as a 60 degree and angle of minimum deviation as a 50 degree, we can easily calculate the value of a refractive index for that particular glass prism. So, in this way we can calculate the refractive index for a different material medium. So, this is the purpose of the entire this experiment, in which we study normally how the refraction takes place through prism. Here it is unlike glass lab, what happens in that incident ray and the refracted ray both are parallel, okay, emergent ray both are parallel over here. But in this case, incident ray and the emergent ray are not parallel, okay. So, what happens over here? Here we will normally study this part to study the angle of deviation with the angle of incidence, and to find the angle of, we have like from this observation we have already calculated this, and from the graph we have calculated the angle of minimum deviation, and then using the calculation theory part of, we can easily calculate the refractive index of a material medium through a prism A and D. Now, here one more thing is there for the self evaluation part. So, you can see that, we can
there is a self assessment part. So, ma'am, basically these are the things, like the perks of having virtual lab, as I mentioned earlier in the session in the beginning, that the practice without any risk, as we have seen, there's a lot of apparatus, something like very expensive apparatus is actually available there, and most important that you can learn it from anywhere. It's portable, like it's available on your devices. So I really want to know, after the once we conclude the experiment, what do we have in virtual lab for students, for researchers, for teachers, that I want to know.
Yes. So, here it is, this is a, see one more this vertical is there, self evaluation, one more tab is over here, where the student can easily, after doing completion of that practical, he can go over there and see whether he understood that practical properly or not. Okay. So, like on what factors or the factor does the angle of deviation depends. So, these are the MCQs are there. Now, suppose he did not know the answer of this, he can always go to this click button over here, this hint button is there, where the angle of deviation depends on the angle of incidence. Yes, we have seen over here the angle of incidence depends on the this angle of deviation depends on the angle of incidence, because as I am changing the angle of incidence, this angle of deviation is decreasing. So, here it depends on the angle of incidence. So, from this hint also, first of all they have to do their own self, and but if there any doubt is there, if any doubt is there in any certain questions, they can always go to hint part and complete that MCQ. So, how many refraction occurs when the ray of light passing through a triangular prism? I told you two surfaces are there, so two refractions are there. Okay. And the same phenomena exists in a water drop, because it shows like a which kind of a it forms a prism like a structure, and that is why rainbow is formed. Okay.
Okay.
So the concept of minimum deviation is very important to understand all these things. And which one of the following is true at the minimum deviation? At that point, always I told you the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of emergence. So here you can see this here we can the light travels inside the prism parallel to the base of the prism. No, this can be this is the correct reason. Here the light travels inside, or we can see the this light travels inside the prism parallel to the base of the prism, because angle of incidence is equal to the angle of emergence. So that's the case, it is parallel. Then we can come to the next part. This is if the angle of a prism is 60 degree, the angle of minimum deviation is 37.2 degree. What will the refractive index of the prism? So see, in that formula we have seen that only A and D is required for calculating the refractive index, which is mu equals to sin A plus D upon 2 and sin upon sin A by 2. Okay. So using that formula, student or learner can easily calculate the value. Okay. And once he can do this calculation, see in the hint part, if he is not able to recall that formula, that formula is written over here. So using this formula they can calculate this value, right?
Okay.
And suppose some question they have kept it wrongly, okay, they have put it wrongly. So in that case it gives this cross mark.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the assessment thing is there. Then once the assessment is complete, this submit button is there, they can submit it, and all the observations are recorded in this thing. Then resources are available over here, some books are there, that is a laboratory manual of physics class 12th, which is published by NCERT. So from there they can learn in depth for that particular experiment in more detail, because some investigative project are also mentioned in this laboratory manual. So where student find interest in suppose they want to do some more practicals related to this topic, so they can go ahead with this laboratory manual to seek it. Then feedback is there. So this is a feedback. If the learner wants to give any feedback, so they can definitely, by writing their email and department, they can give their feedback. So this is all about this refraction through prism, which is a class 12th experiment. So
absolutely, they are see how simple this was, how interesting this was, and you have a lot of options like theory, procedure, then you have the experimentation part, then you have the self-assessment part, and then you have a feedback part.
Yes.
I mean, ma'am, this is actually a revolution when we talk about the science, maths, and even about language subjects. So, Uma ma'am, just want to conclude this session. I just want to ask, and I just want you to distinguish between a virtual lab and the real lab. Like, what's a major difference between these two labs?
See, in virtual lab and real lab, both have their unique advantages are there. Okay. And this virtual lab is a complementary of this, or we can say that this is the supplement of this physical lab. In physical lab, the student can do the experiment at the like a particular time is there. Okay, they cannot do that experiment whenever they want. So this virtual lab gives that flexibility that they can do that particular experiment anytime, anywhere, 24/7, right? So this is the one thing. Next, the fear of doing incorrect. Okay, so this is also this virtual lab eliminates that. There is a plenty of, they can do it, redo it, they can do the assessment, then again they can come back to the virtual lab, they can again do that experiment. So there is a no limit for doing again and again, because in school sometimes teacher get offended, oh no, you have done already 3 times or 4 times, now the lab is closed. Okay, so this kind of thing is not here. So they can without fear, they can do that practical, they can understand the concept, they can understand the concepts, or they can understand the abstract concept, how exactly what happens when a light travels through a prism, or when it travels through a hollow prism in which oil is kept there. So he want to understand all those things. So these things they can do it in virtual labs. They can extrapolate this experiment also, like they can write the multiple this observation and see what will happen if I do the beyond these things. So beyond and beyond that particular limit, if they can do it easily but this in the physical lab they will they will fear for doing that thing.
Absolutely. I mean, you can also see virtual lab like you have a kind of an exercise that you can do at your ease, but in real lab you just perform all those things in real time, and you have a better idea when you go to the real lab that how you actually done on virtual lab. So it's more like an exercise. So I think this is a revolution, as I told you, as I mentioned you earlier. And thank you so much, Uma ma'am, for this wonderful session,
thank you. It's my
for this
pleasure.
simulation, for this demonstration for class 12 students. But this is not over yet, because when we talk about the virtual lab, it's over for this week, but we'll have same session for you, like same virtual lab session for you, the interesting one coming to your doorstep from the next week as well, with the same time, 10 to 10:30 a.m. only on NCERT official. But what do we have for you on this entire day only on NCERT official? Let's take a look via schedule. So after this session, we'll meet you at 11 a.m. This will be our one hour session, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., where we'll talk about online orientation on Prashast app, new version from 4th to 8th August 2025. We are going to enter in our day 4. At 12 p.m. we'll have class 6 science, where we're going to cover the topic temperature and its measurement. At 2 p.m. we'll have class 7 science, where we are going to take up electricity and circuits and their components. At 2:30 p.m. we'll have class 7 mathematics. The topic that we are going to cover is parallel and intersecting lines. At 3 p.m. we'll have class 8 Urdu, and the unwan that we are going to cover is Wadi Ganga Mein Ek Raat. At 3:30 p.m. we'll have class 8 Samajik Vigyan. The topic is Prakrtik Sansadhan aur Unke Upyog Bhag 1. At 4 to 5 p.m. this is our 1 hour online training program, where we are going to talk about AI deepfakes and misinformation, online accountability and legal consequences. And at 5 p.m. we're going to end our day with a Sahyog session, where we're going to talk about breaking the junk food cycle, how to transform to healthier eating habit. So there's a lot more coming to your doorstep. All you need to just stay tuned with NCERT official. This is me, Neev Goswami, signing off. Take care of yourself. Stay tuned with NCERT official. Thank you for joining us. Namaskar.